Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. And wow, Marcia, it's great to have you back. It's a Friday for our Friday live chat, and I'm ready and raring to go. How are you?
I'm ready and raring to go, just like you. It feels like it's been a while.
It has indeed. Well, we enjoy your comments and your questions on the chat. If you're following on McDuff Lives, one word on Rumble, and that's our home base and where most of the chatters congregate. However, you can also participate on our YouTube and X channels as well as Facebook. So wherever you're watching, welcome and thanks for being here. Thanks for your interest in Marcia and me and our McDuff community here. We've
Yes,
been doing this
indeed.
McDuff stuff for quite a few years now.
Well,
And
you have. The we
yeah,
has only been recent.
well, oh, come on now. You're the one that organized the first charrette.
I don't think so,
Yeah,
but
I remember you went on. You remember that charrette we did in March of 2020? That was to celebrate my dad's 50th. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
100th birthday.
yeah,
And you set that up. You booked the hotel.
I did that.
Yeah, the book. You made an Eventbrite and everything. Yeah,
Wow.
you've
Wow.
been part of. Are you kidding me? You've been part of this from the beginning.
Well, I've been behind the scenes going, yay, John, yay, John.
Yeah. Well, no, it's been great having you as a live participant as well. And
It is. I'm enjoying being here. I'm enjoying interacting with all of you guys out there and as always, we are so appreciative of your support.
well, I don't see anybody else posting any topics yet. I'm sure they will come, but until then, I guess the big story of my week has been my health, and I've shared that in my Substack called Cancercide Journal, and this business of cancercide is real. We know it's real now. Even Tucker Carlson admitted it on one of his shows, talking to Representative Kurt Weldon, and he said, "Oh yeah, the CIA uses cancer to kill people overseas, foreign subjects." It's, oh right, okay, so they don't do it in the
Oh,
U.S.
no,
No,
of course not.
no, of course not. But ever since I got hit by my cancer in 2016, the first SV40, the Sabin sugar cube with the polio vaccine. And the thing that's so astonishing about it is the way that it can hide. This particular cancer. As we were talking with our urologist yesterday, um, there's a test called the PSA test, and there's a test called the PSMA, which is a PET scan specialized to prostate cancer. And we had both of those tests, and we've had a number of PSAs over the years and a previous PET scan. And interesting, the previous PET scan showed 9 nodes on my lymph system that were metastasized. And that was really bad news in June of 2023. That's when I started my Substack, so that I could share it and
Right.
other information with people, and so that was it was terrible news, that after 5 years of complete remission, that suddenly now it was metastasized. So
Right.
where was it hiding, and how did it get back? I suspect that a bout of what might have been COVID may have suppressed my immune system enough for it to revive itself. But then we spent 2 years with 1 year of Lupron, but then 2 years doing the alternatives with all of the fenbendazole, IVM, the mushrooms, and more recently added selenium and a number of, just without trying to summarize all of them, just say I tried
Right.
a lot of these supplements and anti-parasiticals, and it seemed to be working until what was it, April, when I got a new PSA, and it said 0.2,
Right.
which just sounds very, very low. It's tiny, and it really is tiny,
Yes.
but it's there. And that's the problem, because this stuff is aggressive. There's different grades prostate cancer, and the ones that just stay in your prostate and don't ever go anywhere, well, those seem to be treatable. But this one, I think it's a weaponized form.
Hmm.
I really do. I think that they had to do something to make it so stealthy that it could hide. No test was showing it for years,
Right.
and then suddenly it comes back, and now I have to go back on the ADT, the hormone treatment. So
Hmm.
you get deprived of your testosterone because prostate cancer thrives on testosterone. I don't understand why it's so different from all the other cancers, but it is. Other cancers, they want glucose. And I don't know, understand the chemistry of it, but somehow testosterone is the key to um, a prostate
Right.
advanced stage 4
Right.
Gleason 9 prostate cancer.
Right.
And it's in the news because that's what President Biden unfortunately has.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry for him and his family to have to go through this. But it hasn't really hurt. It's not like a painful condition, but it's the medication that I don't like. I
Right.
don't want to take that medication. But if you don't, then how do you know it's ever going to stop? Even I've taken IVM, everything, and it doesn't seem to be able to stop it. So we are doing the hormone again, just like we did back in 2017. So that's my news. I mean, that's been my week. I haven't really had much time to do a whole lot of other work because of the importance of it's cutting, killing it before it grows anymore, because it was growing. It was like it was 0, and then it went to 0.2, and now 3 weeks later it's at 0.5 already.
Right.
And that's what is scary, is
Yes.
that, because that's what we saw before. I had a 0, and then I had a 0.7, and then the next thing, it was 3 point something. And that's when the doctor said it was metastasized.
Right.
So sorry for spilling a lot of personal information, but I know you guys follow the story, and it's not just about me. It's about weaponizing cancer, and the sad story that so many people have cancer as a result of bioweaponry that is not being talked about.
Well, the thing that I share with some people who have doubts, who are skeptical about weaponizing cancer, how do you think researchers study cancer? You can't wait around for the mice to get cancer and go, okay, well, now we have 30 mice that have, developed cancer naturally. No, you have to give them cancer. They figured out how to give
A mammal.
an individual cancer, a mammal,
Yeah.
a long time ago, because they need to do it in order to study their drugs and study other things about that they study about cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can give a creature cancer.
Mm-hmm. And then the other famous person that came out right after President Biden was Scott Adams, the cartoonist and commentator at Scott Adams Says, who has quite a following. And he
Does the
came out,
Dilbert comics.
yeah, and he come out and says, he's got stage 4 advanced Gleason 9 prostate cancer too. But that he doesn't expect to survive the summer because his has metastasized into bone.
What a scary, scary frame of mind that must be. I
Well,
can't
yeah.
even begin to imagine what it feels like to think I'm going to die in a few months.
I can tell you kind of way it feels. It really sucks, because it takes everything else out of your mind, even though that worrying about it doesn't help,
Yeah, but in your case, you have resisted giving into that. You've said, no, I'm going to fight it. I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight it.
No,
But Scott Adams is like, okay, I'm dead. My days are numbered. Here we go.
that's right. Yeah.
Oh,
And I say, no, I am not going to die this
no.
summer. I'm not going to die this year, and I'm not going to die in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say, you're not going to die this decade.
No.
Maybe not the next one either.
I mean, that's where all the nutrition and the supplements come in. Because, if I was eating things that are carcinogenic, such as pepperoni pizza or, salami from Oscar Mayer, like my mother ate, you know, I
Right.
mean, then
Bologna.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, my mother and I, ate tons of bologna when I was going through law school. I practically survived on the bologna.
And that's categorized as a class 1 carcinogen.
Yeah.
Still on the market. No warning labels, but it's a class 1 carcinogen, cured meat.
Yeah. So anyway, this Lupron shot is going to last me 6 months, and then I'll decide if I'm going to take another one or not. But right now, I feel very confident that the Lupron is going to suppress the cancer again,
Right.
and that's the only thing that I'm confident in right now. I'm not confident that Fenben's going to do it. I'm not confident that IVM or anything else.
Or even the diet. Yeah.
I mean, we have the great diet, and the diet that we have, had no sugar and all whole foods, all plants. It's a
no
great
meat.
no meat. It's a great diet for humans,
Right.
and dairy. We
No
we
dairy.
don't use dairy because it's not made for humans. It's made for baby cows and things. So anyway, I know a lot of people, will argue with that, say no, grass-fed beef is fine, but no, I disagree. And so
That's the choice that we've made.
keeping my diet clean and doing all of the alternatives that I can come up with, I'm happy to believe that that plus hopefully I'll be able to go off the Lupron again sometime in the future. I have to, because as the doctor said to us yesterday, there's come a time when the Lupron doesn't work.
Right.
And that of course is really depressing.
Well, but you know what? He didn't quite say that. What he said is in most cases, the cancer develops a way to grow without the testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a chance that the cancer won't develop a way to grow without the testosterone.
Oh yeah. I'm just but the majority of the cases,
Yes.
unfortunately, it does. And so, golly, it's just life is so wonderful, and to think that it might end ever is just so sad.
Yeah, contemplating one's mortality. That's
Yeah.
that I guess as you get older, that becomes more common, but
Yeah,
it's
but
still not
it's
a
nice
pleasant
to
thing.
not know, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm just bopping along, and one day I die. I was never stressed about it. I just, one day I didn't wake up from my sleep.
Right.
That's the way to die,
Well, I wouldn't mind a house falling on me. Just something that happens quick.
Yeah. You're not a wicked witch of the East, are you?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But yeah, to have a painful, drawn out, slow death like cancer brings would be horrific. And that's not going to happen to you.
Oh, gosh.
It is not going to happen to you.
All right. Well.
No. No, not at all. Because you are managing the cancer. You are doing things like the Fenben and the IVM and the Allison and the diet.
Yeah.
You are doing things to slow the growth of the cancer, to manage the cancer. Because the fact is, many of us die with cancer that we never knew we had.
Well, that's what they say. They say that men with advanced prostate cancer usually do not die of it. They die of heart disease.
Right. Right.
So I'm planning on not getting heart disease.
Yeah. No, you're not going to get heart disease the way we've been eating.
Yeah. Well, how's everybody else doing? No comments yet from the chat room that I can see. So
I know, me either. I'm sitting here thinking, where is everybody? Let us know you're there, where you're watching us from. What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we could talk about.
There we go. Imagine that.
there's a PSA report from our friend. Imagine that. My PSA was 5.7. They did a biopsy, 12 samples, and it came up negative. Congratulations. That's great.
Well, and that is what we have been told, is that just because you have a high PSA, it doesn't mean you have cancer. And then you have to go do biopsies to find out what's going on. So yeah, thank you. Imagine that.
Yeah, yeah. They did my biopsy, and they said, yeah, you got
Yeah.
tumors in your prostate. So
Catherine's here from Mid-Coast, Maine. Good morning, Catherine. Prester John is here. Wow, 13.4.
and still no cancer.
Yeah, imagine that. Says my PSA is now 13.4, and they did the MRI and still no cancer. Wow.
See, this is I haven't had an MRI. Scott at Allison V says that MRI is the best way to know. I don't know why they haven't given me one, but what they did give me, I thought was the most sophisticated.
I thought
test
so
ever.
too, the PSMA.
And so we had that, and if you read the doctor talk on the report, the impression, it says very few small avid receptors or something. It sounds like, who cares? It's some little bitty things, but the doctor says, no, that means it's lit up. That means that those 4 spots are lit up for markers for cancer.
This terminology drives me crazy. And you and I talked about this use of the word avid. The report had avid in it.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it going, what does that mean? And so we go to the doctor, and the doctor says, oh, avid means lit up. What does lit up mean?
Yeah.
And what that means is that the terminology is that it's positive for cancer, that the cells are going to absorb whatever they put in you, and that tells you that this is a bad cell.
Yeah.
I know you will manage your health. You are doing everything possible. That counts for 10 years right there. Thank you, Carol. That's a wonderfully positive way to look at it. And I agree with you completely, because you don't just sit back and say, okay, I'm going to do exactly what the doctor says and nothing more. No, you got to advocate for yourself, because the only thing the doctors are concerned about are the drugs. They're going to treat you with drugs. That is what the medical community does.
Yeah.
And anything else.
Or radiation.
Right. Yeah. Some kind of intervention like that, radiation, surgery, drugs, anything else is outside of their area of knowledge, and they're going to ignore it. And there are so many more additional things that you can do. You can work with your medical provider, but also you can educate yourself. So you're absolutely right, Carol. Thank you. So imagine that. Says, yes, the doctor told me that the MRI was the definitive answer to tell if I had cancer. I asked, why did we do the biopsy then? Good point. Very good point.
Yeah. Well, I've got to ask why I haven't had an MRI.
Yeah. Yeah. You should send your doctor an email.
Yeah. Well, I will. The one thing that's good about this practice is they have a patient portal, and the doctor gets right back to you, definitely within a day. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prester John. Marcia, we appreciate your courage, advocacy, and knowledge of how best to tackle cancer and help John through this. It's not just me. There are so many people out there who are giving John very good guidance and support. It's absolutely a team, and I'm only playing a minor role. I'm in the kitchen cooking up healthy meals, but John's getting wonderful guidance from a wonderful group of people.
Yeah, and she made me pancakes this morning with strawberries and blueberries. So,
Pancakes made in the oven. That was fun.
Life is good.
Yeah. Catherine says, enjoy each day fully. Stressing Stressing over it is no good at all. Watch funny clips like Vicki Lawrence breaks Carol Burnett. Belly laughing, good for you. You know, that is true.
Oh, yeah.
That is so true. I remember years ago, my brother-in-law was feeling very down and very depressed and going through challenges. And his mother brought him a bunch of funny videos. And my sister was horrified. She's like, funny videos aren't going to cure him. They're not going to cure him, but they're going to help him deal with it. I think that's absolutely true. Maybe we should go watch a funny movie, John.
Yeah. But we've seen them all.
That's true. Yeah, well, maybe the folks out there have some good suggestions for their favorite comedies. What are the favorite belly laugh movies that
I
we
want to
can-
see something that's as funny as Young Frankenstein, only that I haven't seen already.
You know, I could watch Blazing Saddles again.
I don't know.
I
about
think
that.
we went
I
looking
don't
for
know
that a
about
while back and we couldn't find it. But yeah, I could watch any Mel Brooks.
Yeah. Catherine likes I Love Lucy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Vitamita Vegemax. Remember the Vitamita Vegemax?
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and,
classic.
Yeah, and of course the Chocolate Factory where she's working.
Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And YouTube clips. You can find some good stuff.
Stir Crazy. That might be good.
Stir Crazy. That's another.
Who's
That's another Mel Brooks, I think.
Who's in it?
I'm pretty sure it's Gene Wilder, and I'm seeing his face and I can't think of his name. We'll have to look that up.
We did see a Gene Wilder movie a couple months ago that it's really good. The Silver Streak.
Oh, right.
With
Yeah.
Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
And that might be who's in Stir Crazy also. Don Mazia says Best in Show. That would be good too.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, it's Best in Show is from the same people who brought you Spinal Tap. And it does for dog shows
Oh no.
what Spinal Tap does for rock and roll bands.
Okay.
I've seen not all of it, but I've seen parts of it. Yeah. Brightmoor Dinosaur, Richard Pryor.
I love Richard Pryor. I'm so sorry that he's gone.
Yeah. And
he was really funny.
Yeah, Silver Streak was good. Robin Williams on the French clips. I don't know what that means.
Huh. I'm not familiar with him either.
Oh, A Mighty Wind. That's another good idea. That again is from the same Spinal Tap folks.
Yeah.
Christopher Guest, who's married to I see again her surface names aren't coming to me today.
Yeah.
The daughter of she was in Trading Places.
But that has Meathead in it, right?
What? A Mighty Wind?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, I like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
She in Trading Places was great.
Yeah, and she's married to Christopher Guest.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting stuffy for some reason.
All right, yeah, and old Monty Pythons too. I still laugh at the Monty Pythons.
He turned me into a newt. A newt? I got better. I don't know why that one always stuck with me, but I just always found that funny. I got better.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
YouTube Robin Williams French. Many of his diatribes on them will appear. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, Prester John had a crush on Jamie Lee Curtis. I think a lot of guys did.
Yeah. Well, you know, the other topic that's been up this week is my inquiry into whether sovereignty is dead. You know, we talked to Hervoye about it. Hervoye Moritz of Geopolitics and Empire on Tuesday. We definitely talked about sovereignty in a big way with Anton Chaikin this past Monday, which was really a great show. I'm talking with the author of Who We Are, his second volume, and I'm proceeding through that book, reading portions of it on our Monday shows, and I'll be reading some then this coming Monday. Fascinating to see a good narrative of American history finally coming out, and being what this is what should be taught in schools.
Yes.
The good stuff, the people that wanted to create a productive empire of liberty, as Jefferson called it, and liberty for everybody, and be productive, and so that the economy grows and everybody grows, everything grows, as opposed to what we have now, which is this worldwide corporate run economy that everything comes from a different country, and you're paying for transportation probably more than for the product itself by the time it gets into your hands. The idea of local economy and the strength that comes from it is key to sovereignty. And that, if we can't get our productivity back, then we're definitely a long ways down the slippery slope into just becoming another portion of a global community that's run by the rules-based order, whatever that is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the economy is always, excuse me, is always a huge struggle to get it right, but and then also to determine what is the role of government. I think that, again, I've got another frog in my throat.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Excuse me. But what is the role of government in the economy? And, we go everything from controlling it to hands off and everything in between. But the fact is, I do believe, and this gets talked about a lot, is the role of government is to create an environment where the private sector can grow the economy. But you have to create the environment. You have to build the infrastructure, the roads, the communication networks, all of it. You have to put in the infrastructure.
And that's the great sleight of hand that has been played over and over again, where the government participates, with tax money, right, with our money, in developing an industry or a new computer product or a new way to do something. And we participate in all of the development. And then for the past, 30 years or so, private industry then gets to hold the patent on it and get all the royalties for it instead of the government. And that's what happened with the railroads. We, as Anton Chaikin explains in his book, how the railroads were developed with government support, and they couldn't have been without the government support. So then, but once you got it there, then in the second half of the 19th century, the robber barons just come in, and with the help of their friends in government, they privatized the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's part of the discussion, is how does government incentivize investment and still protect the citizens, but I think that that's the challenge, is that the second half usually isn't part of the equation. The government wants to incentivize investment, and they say that helps the citizens and the community because that creates jobs. And that is true, but it also enriches the heads of these corporations and their boards in a very disproportionate manner.
Well, I think that the government now is participating in the globalization project, and that's been the tragedy since the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I've been following a relatively new source to me. It's someone called Escape Key, and it's ESC.
I saw a post that
with an underscore, and this person, male or female, I don't know, has done an amazing analysis of the influence of hidden hands behind the governments that are forming things that will be, and already are, things like the World Health Organization, okay? which are quasi-governmental. But these quasi-governmental organizations are taking on the power of government and taking the power away from the elected representatives in democracies, so that we vote for people, but it doesn't have an effect on policy, because the policy is being set by the Carnegie Corporation or the Ford Foundation or,
Right.
or the World Bank. All of these quasi-governmental things have been created, many of them under the UN and including the UN, for the very purpose of sneaking the power away from the voters and putting it into the hands of it's my favorite word, stakeholders.
I've used that word a lot in my career in economic development. Oh dear, now I have to rethink that. Stakeholders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, stakeholders instead of the common good.
Right. Well, Brightmore Dinosaur says YouTube is creating controlled opposition AI videos, which appear based on perceived preferences by one's YouTube history.
So they're creating bots to argue with me.
I don't know.
They say, well, here's what John thinks, so let's create a bot that thinks the opposite. And then have him waste all of his life battling with these bots.
Deep fakes are being used for AI videos. We'll post deep fakes in comments that is very convincing to non-discerning minds. You know, it's funny. I've been seeing videos of disasters, like plane crashes. And just this morning, there was one on Facebook on the Reels that was a beautiful chalet on a mountain falling into a cliff. There was a cliff and the cliff gives way. And it's so obvious it's not real to me, but it makes me wonder, why am I seeing these? Why is Reels showing me this?
I first got caught on this. I think they're fakes. I'm pretty sure they're fakes. It's like there'll be people in the Arctic on a little boat, and a whale will be there. And so they'll come up to the whale. The whale is covered with barnacles. And so these people painstakingly scrape all the barnacles off of this great big fish. And it's like, oh, isn't this nice? Humans interacting and helping nature and all that. And then you see another one and another one and another one. And the next one is like a polar bear that is all covered with barnacles or something. And then the humans, like they go up to the bear and pull all the barnacles.
Oh, no, I'm not going to be going up to a polar bear.
Come on, man.
Oh, please.
But now it's just, they finally arrived at the point where they've been wanting to be, where they can post videos that look to be real and that nobody knows that they're not real. And that, of course, is going to make people completely unable to know truth from falsehood. If you see, a video of President Trump saying, that he and Putin have decided to, invade India or something like that. And you're like, wait a minute, what? Are you serious? Well, okay, that was a joke. Well, no, what if it's something really more serious, And they can do that. And this is going to further detach people who want to be citizens from the ability to exercise the duties of a citizen, because you won't know
what's real
and what's not. And I mean, William Casey had a famous quote of, we'll know we're successful when the American people don't know what's the truth and what's a lie. And they've been working on it. And now they've gotten to the point where they can just bamboozle us. And the only answer to that is you just turn off the TV, turn off the computer, turn off the Reels feed. Get back to go to the neighborhood pub to get your news and talk to your neighbors and find out what they believe.
Catherine says, all the world to me is a stage, and we are merely players, performers and portrayers, each other's audience inside the gilded cage. There you go.
That's what they want. That's what they want. And the Truman Show, that movie. We watched the Truman Show a little while ago.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah. That whole idea of
There you go.
yeah, you're living a fake life and you don't know it, but even if you know it, you're still living a fake life.
Right. Trapped in this unlikely role and ill-equipped to act, one must put up barriers to keep oneself intact. Well, and I think especially intellectual barriers, don't let them mess with your mind. Brightmore Dinosaur, RFK just revealed a litany of additives that contribute to the chronic illness in Americans. Also mentioned were EMFs. There you go. But who's going to pay attention to that? I think that we've known this for a long time and all of these additives, but golly, they make things taste so good and they make life so easy because then all this food can sit on the shelf forever and ever. And there it is when I want it. And it's not going to go bad. And who cares if it gives me cancer? And obviously we don't eat anything that has any ingredient that we don't know exactly what it is and where it came from and is a whole food. Maybe the occasional thing, but yeah, it's got to be a whole food or it's not, I'm not going to buy this product, even if it is a packaged product.
Well, this is, another of the Dr. Jack Kruse points about EMFs. He calls it NN EMF, non-natural EMFs. And, the fact that we expose ourselves to these LED panels and, I'm sitting underneath the one right now.
Right.
All of the EMF that we get from our computers and routers and everything,
and the high power lines. I mean, my sister, when she lived in Montgomery County in suburban Maryland, right in her backyard, there were high power lines running through. And, the transmission lines with the great big tall towers, like over by the farm where we have to drive by those big tall towers. Those are just radiating EMFs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what can you do about it?
Right. William Hagen. I hope I'm saying that right. That's a new name. I think one of the interesting things about William Casey's statement is that Reagan allowed it. Yeah. Presumably he would have fired him if he understood.
Yeah. I mean, the trouble is, with Reagan after he got shot, I mean, how much cognitive ability did he lose when he got shot?
I never thought of him as having lost cognitive ability then. He didn't get shot in the head, did he?
I don't remember.
I thought he was shot in the chest somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
anyway,
James Brady who was shot in the head.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think he did.
Imagine that. Says, we are and have been socially engineered. It's just getting harder to see with AI.
Yeah. Now, do you think that there's maybe some superior race, that's superior to humans that are, kind of running things and treating us like farm animals, to be herded around and poked and jabbed and tested on?
No.
You don't think
so?
They
think they are, but they're not. And, I don't think it's a superior race. I think that there are people who believe that they are more worthy.
Yeah.
And that they are smarter. But that's only because they think it. And they've been told, and they keep telling each other that they're better than the rest. But no, I don't think they are.
No, I'm talking about, a race that might say live underground or in outer space, or that doesn't really interact with humans unless they're hidden in a way. Some, who says that humanity's the top of the heap? That's all.
Well, for me, when you say that, starts getting a little spiritual with spirits and dead people and God and angels and all of those things. I'm not sure.
Well, Catherine says I got to get rid of the LED panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'll check it, but I don't think it's very dangerous. But
You never know.
I know. But golly, I like the light. Uh, you know, you have one on you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have two of them on me.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with my little forehead thing. Brightmore Dinosaur says DOJ has reversed police reform settlements with Minneapolis and Louisville. Political prosecutions and convictions in the Biden era are being scrutinized and reversed.
Yeah, the auto pen. You know about the auto pen?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something? How many of these pardons, are going to be voided? But I see this also as kind of a dog and pony show. That it's entertaining to us, to say, oh, they're gonna finally get Joe Biden or the Biden crime family or whatever. But all of this stuff goes on while the deep state program is still full speed ahead. So
Lincoln and Jake Sullivan have been characterized as Biden's controllers during his cognitive decline. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jill too, Jill Biden. And there's a couple other names that have
Well,
been
of course,
posted.
Jill Biden. Yeah.
Recently too. So yeah, and I hope they busted, but to me, the American people have got to just pull up their sleeves and get to work on the JFK assassination, and once and the government of this country has got to recognize that it was subverted on that very day by the plotters that took him down, because it was this this thing that you can call the blob or the deep state or what I think is the empire that couldn't handle JFK, and so they just kind of collectively decided, okay, it's okay if somebody wants to pull the trigger, we won't say anything, and they did.
And the fact that the American public has bought the single shooter, one bullet theory is just horrifying to me. How anybody could believe that with all of the evidence that proves otherwise. But it reminds me of Obi-Wan Kenobi. These are not the droids you're looking for. There was just a single shooter.
Yeah. See William's post there. I know William from a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's not new, but I'm not sure how to say Hagen or Hagen either myself. But anyway,
if it were French pronunciation, it would be Hogan.
Well,
that
welcome.
AU, but it's good to have you here, William.
Yeah, always. Thanks for coming back.
This probably goes back. I don't know what that was referring to, but Don Mazia says,
Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. Used to have a dog that said that. Ruh-roh.
Oh, that's funny. Now, this light, powerful, and Deborah T. and others go deep. Vision. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Maybe those are bloggers that she follows. Yeah, vision is definitely important to protect. I don't think.
Important to protect.
I don't think there's a danger to vision from what we have. This light is oblique and at 45-degree angles above our heads. I don't think it's a danger to our vision, but I'm not an expert. But I've been using these lights for a while.
Brightmore Dinosaur. A recent study has shown that periods of silence have been associated with creation of new brain cells. Our constant inundation by stimulus is purposeful. Wow. Wow. I want to read more about that. I'm going to have to Google and read more. That's fascinating.
You mentioned reels a little while ago,
Yeah.
and boy, are they addictive.
They
you know.
are. They're so addictive.
I can just sit and go from one to another, and they know what I like, so they send me the same, the same genre.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know how many free Italian lessons I've gotten in the past week, but
I know.
they,
Lately, I'm getting Italian lessons too. And I watched one thing from Cannes. And so suddenly I'm getting all of these celebrities at Cannes or Cannes.
yeah,
And oh, what else? For a long time, I was getting a lot of Ted Lasso videos, little clips from the
because you
TV
love
show.
that show.
I love that TV show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen many of those lately. They are covering up the Butler attempt on Trump as well. We haven't heard a thing about that.
Yeah, and it's also as Hervoye was mentioning on Tuesday, that Bongino and I can't remember who else came out and said, definitely Epstein killed himself.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It sure does look like well, we used to call them Arkancides to me.
So Brightmore says that he will post USA Today article on silence and comments. Thank you. Yeah, because there is, like you and I, when we take the dogs to the park and we'll sit on the grass and we do that because we want to connect to the earth and we want to connect our energy with Earth's energy and that's based on what is called grounding or earthing. But the silence too, we'll sit there in silence and there's this wonderful peace
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also happens when you turn off the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in our house, the TV doesn't get turned on until nighttime. So, what's Catherine? Populations in different multi-well plate formats.
Okay, we need a few more words in the sentence there, Catherine. We couldn't quite catch it. Yeah.
And then Corona Knievel 19. Oh my. Just scratching the surface now on LED disruption of photons.
Yeah.
A bit beyond me. Yeah.
But Jack Cruz is really big about that.
Spell Cruz.
Kruse. Yeah.
So people can look him up.
And he's very easy to find now. He seems to have one of those magic wands that gives him a whole lot of presents all at once.
Imagine that. There are patents on altering your brainwaves intentionally using frequencies through your monitors and screens. Nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields from monitors. Wow. There you go.
I know, and still we look at the monitors.
We do. We do. I mean, it's all part of the addiction.
That's like you were saying a little while ago, oh, this thing might give you cancer, but I'm going to eat it anyway.
Right. Right. That's what we do. Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to, even the sugar, we were talking about that yesterday. And our community here has a festival every summer and they give out snow cones, and snow cones are nothing more than sugar and dyes added to ice. And it's just nasty stuff. Nasty. And, and they wanted someone to help with the snow cone booth. And I said to John, I'm not going to go out there and, poison little children. And everybody knows it, but we go, oh, but it's so good. And the little children love it so much.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are allowing their children to, take the poison because it's what all the kids get it, and all the parents let them. So why shouldn't my parents?
If it were that bad, they wouldn't let us have it, or it's just a little bit. But you don't realize it's not just a little bit because it's in everything. All right, I've got to vent about this a little bit. Brightmore Dinosaur mentions that Apple has had to offer a huge settlement for Siri spying on iPhone users and retaining their data. Well, it's a huge settlement because there are so many Apple devices out there. However, as an individual, it's $20 per device. I'm not going to go through the trouble of registering and proving that I own a device and that I've owned other devices for $20. That's crazy. I'm glad that there is some exposure of Apple's actions with Siri and the fact that Siri's been listening, but duh. No. I'm very, very annoyed that it's only $20 per device.
You know, when you mention Apple and William mentioned George Webb, one of the first things that I studied with George Webb back in 2017 was about Steve Jobs' cancer
Mm-hmm.
and how, you know, Steve Jobs was being romanced to give a backdoor into the Apple products.
Right. Right.
For you know, security agencies.
Exactly.
I'm not sure who, and he wouldn't do it. And then he got cancer.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after a while, he caved in and let them do it. You know, his cancer went away for a while.
For a while.
And then it came back and killed him. But, you know, these coincidences are just too many. There's that,
Yeah.
to me, that was a cancer side. That to me is a cancer side. I can't explain how, you know, but just who he was and the power of Apple, you know, the
Mhm.
ability that Apple could affect the minds of hundreds of millions of people at once, just made him so delicious a target for the spooks and the people that want to manipulate us
Right.
en masse, you know. The same thing happened with Palantir, you know, with the Palantir taking over the Inslaw, the software that was created basically for law firms to be able to track their cases. Back in 1980, when I was starting to practice law, we got Inslaw in my law firm, but you know, they just took it. I can't remember who's the guy that still running a blog that says, you know, they stole it from him.
Mm.
They stole it in order to, because it can dox people. It can just give great documentation. And so now there's a Palantir file on everybody, you know. I was reading recently, you know, that it's not only that they have a file on you, but they actually create a digital you that they monitor. Like here, okay, so today John went to the doctor. So they have this digital, you know, I don't know if there's an effigy of me going to the doctor, but they basically create a cyber form of you based on all the data they've been able to strip from all the internet. It's very, very sophisticated.
You know, and I know somebody when that says, you know, okay, fine, I don't care, I don't have anything to hide. I can't imagine anybody feeling that way, quite frankly, because I don't have anything to hide, but I still demand my privacy.
Amen.
Well, we only have a few minutes left.
Yeah, let's see who didn't we call on yet?
Polly says Steve Jobs' wife pays net zero promoters millions of dollars.
I forget what net zero means.
I'm assuming it's an entity of some kind.
It was a phrase a few years ago, but I don't know. Maybe somebody will remind me what it means. Oh, here's a topic we haven't touched: the murder of the two Israeli.
Right.
You want to put that?
Yep.
Lots of people reacting to the murder of two Israeli embassy employees as a false flag to further pressure lawmakers to protect Israel from increasing anti-Semitism. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the core of.
That was my thought as soon as I heard it.
Yeah.
Is, you know, there's an agenda here. Absolutely an agenda here.
Sure. It's like so many of the assassinations of our presidents, these are not just lone nuts that are, doing something on a whim. These murders are political murders.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a nice comment. Thank you, Mike. This channel should have 500,000 subscribers. That's a very nice thing to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And yeah, there's the answer to Polly gives us. Net zero means no more farmers eat the bugs. That's the globalism that came along with Klaus Schwab's Great Reset.
Okay.
Remember Klaus?
Yes.
the Great Reset. And how COVID-19 was going to usher in the Great Reset, and that net zero means basically if you can't pay for it, you can't have it, and everything has got to balance net zero. You've got to have a smaller footprint, on the earth, because there's just room for so many people. It's all tied together with the eugenics agenda.
Absolutely. And if we didn't eat meat, then we'd have a lot more, we'd have a much lower footprint.
That's the thing. People want to eat that meat, so they defend the idea of cow farming,
Right.
While I love the idea of the family farm with Bessie the cow and the little animals running around.
It's not where your steak comes from.
That's not where your steak comes from, folks. It comes from CAFOs, these awful, things that are a mile long with these poor animals and,
stuck indoors
locked
in little cells where they can't move around. They can't lie down. They're tortured.
Yeah.
So that is horrible, horrible to me. Brightmore says, American skepticism, even among normies, has increased. Normies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you and I are not normies.
I hope not.
No.
Yeah.
No, normies accept, whatever CNN says on the news.
I see. Yeah. Brightmore says, look up 0 Day and WikiLeaks. Maybe Klaus Schwab wants to eat lobster, crabs, crawfish, and shrimp, which count as bugs. Thank you, Prester John.
Yeah. Well, I did not want to give up the shellfish, but I did back in November of 23.
That's when we ate our last oysters.
And I'm fine. I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all.
You know what? I don't miss the oysters themselves. What I miss is like when we would go to the firehouse for the oyster.
Yeah.
For the oyster roast.
That's right. The community part
of it. The community part of it.
Yeah.
Or even if we would go to the restaurant, the local restaurant on the water.
Yeah.
It just was such a part of the ambiance here on Mystery Island.
Yeah.
Of going down to the restaurant on the water, the crab house, though we don't eat crabs, but in the wintertime, don't feel like cooking. Let's just go get some oysters. And we'd go get a salad bar and 2 dozen oysters. And I do kind of miss that ambiance, but
we could still go down there and have a baked potato and a salad,
Yeah.
Or on a salad bar days, we could go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is, all part of it. The what we were talking about, kids eating snow cones and adults eating candy bars and, thinking, well, everybody eats them, it's part of the culture. So if you want to be part of the culture, you're going to have to just understand that you're taking a certain risk that you're going to get cancer. And you and I are not taking that risk.
Yeah, that's it. Because people need to be informed. They can make their choices based on being informed, but dang, people need to be informed. Mike and MO, fun fact for John, I took Lyndon LaRouche's paper in the 1980s.
I don't know what it means to take his paper, but
I'm assuming he must have had some publication that
no.
Mike subscribed to.
Well, I look at Executive Intelligence Review a lot, and it's a real archive of
An amazing archive.
of great essays written by LaRouchians. And, look at what happened to LaRouche. It was our same man. It was Robert Swan Miller, the same guy that was trying to take down Trump is the same guy that took down LaRouche. And, I don't agree with everything that the LaRouche people say. And I really do feel that they dropped the ball on all of this medical stuff. They don't talk about
Right.
the WHO or anything like that, and that really troubles me. But for goodness sakes, Harley Schlanger has got a brain that and a cheerful attitude that just
I love listening to Harley.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and then Anton Chaikin, who used to be with him, but now of course publishes on his own.
Mhm.
Fantastic mind, and so many other people that have been or still are associated with the LaRouche organization. Giving LaRouche a bad name was a big coup by the deep state.
Yeah. And I love their approach. Would you agree with them or not? The fact is that their goal is to create dialogue. Let's do some serious thinking. Let's do some serious examination of what's going on. And then let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's share our ideas. And I really admire that because that's how we're going to get better. We're 3 minutes overtime now.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up then, Marcia. It's been fun.
Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Be safe out there, whether you're traveling or staying home. Don't do anything foolish.
All right. And be kind to the ospreys. Bye now.
Bye.